Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So today we're going to focus on another singular ingredient / note, whatever you want to call it. And for today, that's going to be bergamot. Now, if you're anything like me, when you first got into looking into fragrances, at least within the not too distant past, you probably looked at notes obsessively, looked at notes on Fragrantica. For me, it was Parfumo primarily. And you would notice that a lot of fragrances use bergamot as a top note. I mean, it's used a lot, right? So you probably think, oh, bergamot must be a very inexpensive citrus oil. Well, in fact, it's actually one of the most expensive citrus oils, in case you didn't know. I think a lot of that has to do with the extraction process for bergamot, and of course, you know, where it's sourced from and the quality of it also plays a role. But I think it's the extraction process that actually makes it one of the more expensive citrus oils. And the other thing is, I actually happen to have some like a pure essential aromatherapeutic type bergamot oil here. When you smell it on its own, you can kind of see how it can be used for a lot of things. First of all, if you just want brightness in your fragrance in general, that maybe doesn't pull the scent too much in one direction or the other in terms of how citrus smells, bergamot oil has it, or at least this one does. You get the brightness from it. You might think lime when you see it, but it does not smell like lime. Lime has a very distinct citrus type smell to it. The bergamot oil is almost a little bit more neutral smelling, but it can be used for that. You can just see how versatile it can be if you smell bergamot on its own, and that is why I think it is used obsessively in so many fragrances. In many cases, it is just more of a texture element, maybe just a brightness element. In some cases, it's used as the primary citrus. It can be used in a variety of ways, and that's why it is so prevalent in fragrances. So I got 8 fragrances here today that I think bergamot is a key ingredient in them, whether it's used to just smell like bergamot on its own or just used as part of the overall citrus makeup in some of these fragrances. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, so let's get it started. First up, from the house of Mancera, this is Vetiver Sensuel. Mancera Vetiver Sensuel. Now, one of the things I noticed, at least from this bergamot oil I have here, is there is almost this ethereal, watery feel to the smell of that bergamot oil. And I think that plays a key point, maybe not the entire point, but a key point in how the citrus comes across in this as almost like just very watery, almost ethereal like. It's a blend of citruses in this, so it doesn't necessarily smell just like bergamot or really any particular citrus. It smells like a blend of citrus with a watery feel around it. This is one of the best clean vetiver fragrances you can get on the market, one of the highest quality ones in my opinion, for the price you can get this for. And while the focus on this one is vetiver and honestly a little bit more of a minty vibe as well as a little bit of a floral vibe as well, the citrus in this, the top notes of the citrus, I think is one of the best parts of this fragrance. While it does fade away as you expect citrus notes to do so, it just makes up a great part of this fragrance, and I think that's one of the best facets to this scent overall. Once again, from the house of Mancera, this is Vetiver Sensuel. All right, guys, next one's coming from the house of Amouage, and this is Lyric Man. Amouage Lyric Man. Now, this is a rose scent, and it's primarily a rose scent. The rose is extremely prominent in this fragrance, along with, you could say, resins and spice, a little bit of a spicy edge, pine, so it's a little bit green. There's incense in this, things like that. Some sweet notes as well. But the top of the fragrance is listed as bergamot and lime. And I think that is a great opening to this scent. It kind of keeps that feel a little bit through the dry down, maybe not all the way to the dry down, but it does have this brightness to it. That bergamot lime combination is helping to create the brightness of this fragrance. For me, the lime flavored citrus is what makes this fragrance a little bit different from a lot of other fragrances that maybe feature rose and some type of citrus. I don't think lime is always the first choice when you think of that. All I know is in this fragrance, it works very well. Great quality bergamot used to help with the citrus lime flavored makeup of this scent. Once again, from the house of Amouage, this is Lyric Man. All right, next one's coming from the house of Creed. Shouldn't be a surprise here. It's Aventus. Creed's Aventus. Now, obviously, the pineapple accord is the more famously known accord or note of this fragrance, but I have to say, I think the bergamot is just as important, while maybe it's not the one people give credit to, and how this fragrance comes across, why it was so successful. Granted, I haven't smelled the earlier iterations of it. I know there's been more fruity iterations, more smoky iterations, but I bet the bergamot element has been steady throughout all of the Aventus batches. I would think so, at least. And what the bergamot is adding to this is the brightness of the fragrance, the fresh aspect of the fragrance. I don't think bergamot is necessarily used in a pineapple accord. I could be wrong. I have no idea. There actually is a new way of extracting pineapple from the plant, from the fruit itself. Actually, it's not widespread yet, but I've heard there is a new way to actually get pineapple. Everything beforehand has been just an accord of pineapple. But the bergamot definitely plays a role in how this fragrance comes across. Matter of fact, if you go to Creed's website and kind of look at them talk about Aventus, bergamot is one of the main things they're gonna highlight as, you know, an important makeup of the scent, and one of the things they basically claim to spare no expense for. Once again, from the house of Creed, this is Aventus. Next one's coming from the house of Wilhelm Parfumery. This is Morning Chess. Wilhelm Parfumery Morning Chess. Now, if you've seen me talk about this before, I have said every single time that the bergamot in this most readily makes me think of Aventus, because there's not a pineapple note in this one. There's not really a pineapple smell, but there is a lot of bergamot, and it mixes with leather and galbanum to create this overall more green kind of vibe, but it does have an Aventus-like element to it, but the fragrance overall does not smell like Aventus, but that bergamot is very similar to me. I think that's what people draw, or at least that's the comparison people make between the two. It's that smell of that bergamot and how it comes across. So I would say with this fragrance, they're using at least a similar grade or similar usage style of bergamot to Aventus. That's how you can tie the two together. Otherwise, they're completely different. All I know is that's definitely what drew me into this scent, is the good quality bergamot that I think is in this fragrance. Once again, from the house of Wilhelm Parfumery, this is Morning Chess. Next up, coming from the house of Xerjoff, this is Neo. Xerjoff Neo. Now, there's actually more green, fresh, spicy elements to this fragrance, as well as neroli, that's kind of aiding in most of the brighter aspects of this scent, but there is bergamot listed as a top note, and I think the bergamot in this is purely serving as the finishing touches to the brightness of this fragrance. For me, it's more green and soapy and kind of a smoky, woody base to it, and all of those elements, the way it blends with the bergamot in this, you may think it has, maybe, I guess you could relate it most closely to lime, but it doesn't really smell like lime, but it kind of gives you that idea in your head. But there's no doubt about it, in my mind, the bergamot plays a key role in the brightness of this fragrance, mixing with those other elements to just finish it off. Once again, from the house of Xerjoff, this is Neo. All right, next up, from the house of Roja Parfums, we have got Isola Blu. Roja Parfums Isola Blu. All right, so this is another one. Blend of citrus, great blend of citrus. You kind of can pick out a number of things here. You get lemony accords, you get grapefruit-like citrus from this, a little bit of orange flavored citrus as well. There may be even a lime element to it. I think when you have that much citrus in one fragrance, it's more than likely gonna have some bergamot elements in there, because it just kind of helps with that overall brightness. It's one of the key components of this fragrance, but you also have woody and musky elements mixing with a lot of herbaceous aromatics, blending with that citrus, but citrus definitely an important makeup of this scent. And again, it's a blend, so I cannot just smell bergamot outright, but bergamot is one of the listed notes in this, and it's not a surprise to me because it has that overall brightness that I think bergamot is so great at giving to fragrances. Once again, from the house of Roja Parfums, this is Isola Blu. Next up, coming from the house of Nishane, we have got Hacivat. Nishane Hacivat. All right, so for this one, another one people compare to Aventus. This one does have bergamot, and it does have a pineapple accord as well. Very juicy kind of pineapple accord, but the brightness of this one is rather harsh actually. Now I actually don't mind it. I like the harshness of the brightness of this fragrance, but that's a lot of people, it kind of turns them off. They can find it a little bit screechy. Again, I think that bergamot is playing a role in that, because when I smell this bergamot oil on its own, it has an element to it that can make you think like, I could use this in a way that can give a really very vibrant and bright, almost screechy undertone to the fragrance. I think that's the case with this scent. Now it also has oak moss in here. The way oak moss can come across, if you blend it with something like that, I think it just accentuates it. So it kind of keeps that almost screechy brightness throughout the entire life of the fragrance. But I think that's the oak moss playing more of a role in that than the bergamot, because bergamot does not necessarily last that long. Once again, from the house of Nishane, we have got Hacivat. All right, last but not least, coming from the house of Montclair, this is La Cordee. Montclair, La Cordee. Now, I don't know the exact ingredients in this fragrance, obviously, but I do know the three given notes are bergamot, black tea, and cypress. So, this is a 200 milliliter bottle, so very large bottle, but it retails for, I want to say it's around 300. Let's just say it's 300 bucks. For the fragrance to be very simple, I would imagine that the reason it costs as much as it does is probably mostly because of the bergamot. Now, I don't know what a black tea accord costs in terms of ingredients. I don't know what cypress costs on its own, but I do know, or at least I have a good idea that cypress is certainly maybe not going for as much as bergamot can go for. So I think the bergamot plays an important role in just the price of the scent, because it is a high quality bergamot. In my opinion, you can kind of pick that up right away. Blends with that tea almost immediately, giving a lemony kind of vibe with the tea accord. And then the cypress kind of gives almost a minty smell to it overall. So that's why I call it lemon tea with a dash of peppermint. But I think bergamot is the overall part of the overall makeup of the scent. That's probably not the only thing aiding in that kind of lemony or citrusy freshness that this fragrance has, because I don't feel like that completely goes away as it dries down, but that cypress I think just aids in that. So there's probably some aroma chemicals in this too, but again, I think they're using very good quality bergamot in this because the smell is impeccable in my opinion. Once again, from the house of Montclair, this is La Cordee. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below. I know every last one of you have smelled fragrances that have bergamot in them. If you think bergamot plays an important role in the makeup of the scent, let me know down below what some of your favorite ones are. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.